Hey guys, Comet here. Welcome back to Alchemy Factory. In the last episode, I got perfumed soap up and running, and I also had a video ready to go for fertile catalyst, because I realized how much fertilizer soap takes, but there was a change. So I had a whole video planned out, recorded, edited, everything. I was about to upload it, went back into the game for a thumbnail, and I was hit with an error message saying that some recipes have changed. So this is the old Fertile Catalyst build that I had just made, but it is already obsolete. This was running with the sulfur powder, so I had this whole thing set up for sulfur powder, and this is unnecessary now. If we take a look at the recipe, it only takes unstable oh no, not that one. This one. It only takes chamomile powder and gloom spores. So the majority of the build is pretty much the same. The only thing I'll have to be changing is the sulfur, and it takes a few extra gloom spores than the old recipe. So I'll throw up on screen the new recipe. And I actually do prefer this new recipe to the old one. So I'll start off just by removing the whole sulfur portion. Don't need any of this anymore. Alright, now that sulfur is out of the way, I can focus on the other parts. It needs twice as many gloom spores as the old recipe, twice as much chamomile powder as the old recipe. So I just got to buff those two, and then it should be working again. So this right here, this is just a 1, 2, 3, 4 by 5 matrix of the gloom logs. I'm sending all of the wood over to some Jupiter sinks over here. Jupiters are a great place to put extra wood. Alternatively, you could just throw it into some trash bins if you want, but we do not waste here. So rather than just copying the blueprints I already have here, I'll go through and rebuild them again. That way you can see what I did. So we'll start with the gloom spores from the gloom logs. So just some stacked table saws. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide. Then this middle one splits into 2 different directions, but there are 2 outputs, so those need to be filtered first. So I'll have the gloom fungus come out of the top. Then this middle one will split in 2 different directions and wrap back around like that. Because these, if we look at how much they produce, it's 12 plus 48 for a total of 60. But the wood is what we're really worried about here. So 48 a minute times 5 table saws is actually 240, and my belts only carry 120 each. So if that middle one gets split, then I get 120 on that side and 120 on this side. Then for the spores, or the fungus, that can just run along the top. Out over to that side. Then stacking this, not too difficult. Just use some stands. And then I'll get some smaller stands for all of the belt work. So then theoretically, this whole thing can just stack once, twice, and a third time there. Then all this extra scaffolding up on top doesn't need to be here. Then to get all of the gloom fungus out at the very end, looks like I just used some elevators. I'm going to copy this. And it should just plug on, right? There. So this belt and this belt drop down and combine. Then that belt and that belt drop down and combine at the very bottom there. So that gives me my 2 gloom spore belts out. I'm actually going to put this over here. And then I want to make a mirrored version so that all 4 output belts are right here. And then this will allow me to put a single purchasing portal here in the middle of them. So now I've got all 4 of the mushrooms out right here in a nice convenient location. The wood can go out on that side and out on this side. So all of that needs to be processed by 8 assemblers. All doing the gloom spore recipe. So we'll have 1 belt for the yeast powder. Ooh, no, actually I'm gonna need 2 of those. So this is gonna have to be 6 belts tall right here. 2 for yeast powder, and then 4 for the gloom spores. Or for the fungus. Then I'll just get in some elevators to handle all of that filtering. So those first 2 layers are for the yeast powder. That goes into half these first 4, and then the bottom one into the second half, these 4. Then I'll need another elevator from the 3rd level. And that'll feed 2 at a time. Then I'll need another height for the next ones. Another height. And then the final height for the last 2 there. Okay, and that should cover everything. Then these produce at 30 a minute. So that's going to be 2 belts of output. So these 4 could combine together, and then these 4 could combine together. So now I can do the yeast powder. This is going to take 8 blenders. I've only got 4 here, so I'm going to have to double soap. And then the fruit wine is just being supplied from the fluid floor up on, I think it's like floor 9 or something. So this soap build is a 2 wide. Do I have a 4 wide soap? Yes, I do. Is older version, doesn't matter, it still works. So right in this area here, can fit in soap times 4. That just takes fertilizer as an input here, and then linseed oil from all this piping here. Again, I can just connect back into the main piping bus there. So this goes into a lot of blenders, and is that before or after? Okay, so 1 belt can feed 2 blenders. All the piping connected up. And these produce at a rate of 30 a minute, so 4 can be combined together. I'll do that and that. Then I don't even have to touch the paradox crucibles here at all. This portion stays the same. So what I've done here, money is just going in to make sage seeds. And then the sage seeds go into first 1 crucible to make the oblivion essence, and then that oblivion essence is reprocessed in another crucible to make the vitality essence. And then they all just combine together as an output here, 1 belt's worth. And they're all on top of steam heating pads being supplied from the main steam line back over there. So I'm not going to bother changing that. The final thing, I do need to redo the chamomile. So that's 2 nurseries going into 3 grinders. And I really like the sharing idea here. So these can just borrow some fertilizer from that output there. And that can be spread across 3 grinders. So I'll need something kind of like that, because I've got a 2 to 3 here. So let's see. Very easily just do that. Then just have you output. Right there we go. And then have 1 go there, 1 go there. This one needs to split into the 2 belts there. Then the 2 belts of gloom spores and the 2 belts of chamomile powder go into another 4 assemblers. To make the unstable catalysts. So I'll stack this 4 belts tall. Get in the appropriate elevators. Then the final step, this part, making the catalyst, the fertile catalyst, I think I could just leave the same. So it's 15 a minute, 15 a minute, times 8. Yeah, nothing will oversaturate any belts there, so we should be fine on that front. Now, I think I just need to get this out of the way so that I can put this in place. So I will disconnect the inputs, let it drain out. This is actually taking forever and I'm impatient. I'm just going to delete this now. Got a lot of cleanup to do though. So I'll start by getting the soap portion in place. So this whole thing here. Take that. This goes about here-ish. So then this portion here, for all of the logs and the fungus, take that. And I don't have enough inventory space. Let's try that again. This should fit right about here. Dodges that pillar. So the soap's a little off. But I'll get this in place so I know exactly where the soap needs to go. Take you. right about in the middle here. That'll work. So those outputs need to line up more with this input. So let's try repositioning this a little bit. It's gonna be more about right there. It's a little close to the wood output though. How about right here? Okay, yeah, the wood has room to get out there now. The final step, this set of assemblers. This goes right on the end of this. Right about maybe there. So this goes into there. Then this one goes into there, the second level. I'm gonna take all 4 of these outputs, get them, their inputs here. So you go up to level 3. You go up to level 4. Then 5 and 6, this is the input location for 5, which happens to be directly in line. So I can get away with doing that. And then 6 can just go right over the top of that. There we go. This is actually really messy. I don't like this. What I would rather do is something a little more neat, like this. So I'll get this in line a little better. That way this can just go straight in like that. And then here, I'm actually gonna do like a horizontal to vertical transition. So that will come out straight across. This one can go straight across like that. Then I'll do a drop down here and here. There's nothing wrong with the old way. It's just this is easier for my brain to follow. And then I'm actually going to change this up a little bit here as well. We'll have 4 come out. But then right here, it's going to go up. Keeping common belt types or like the same item stacked is easier to follow. At least for me. So that will come out like that. And then this layer can just run across the top. And the chamomile can then just go above all of that. Because then I can just connect that and that. You go up, And you go up even higher. Okay, that looks nice and neat now. Then the last step, I've got to route this all the way around. Into some advanced assemblers. I'm gonna need 8 of these things. No, advanced blenders. Here we go. So I'll connect up all of that piping. I'll need 1 belt here for the unstable catalysts. Then above that can be the vitality essence. And of course the piping's in the way. Let's come back. 1 more block there. So, something like this. A bunch of elevators. And a manifold. Now, these all fit on 1 belt, so that makes that easy to connect up. And the vitality essence can just come in right here. Boom. Alright, so that should be everything. Now I just gotta get all of the different pieces connected up. So this is steam. Of that. Connect back into the manifold at the steam location. Should be steam. Yes. Excellent. We'll also need to get some steam over to these guys. Where's the input pipe? Oh, I think I accidentally deleted the input pipe. Then we will need linseed oil. Go all the way back to the manifold. To slot 1 there's the linseed. I'll need fertilizer, so not here, but rather here. I'll go over to this way. Right into there. Need red wine to connect up, or the fruit wine. You... I think red wine is number 2. Yeah, it's slot 2. Next would be money for all of the logs, but I've got a whole bunch in these boxes here I'd like to get rid of first. And then the last thing I need is some lavender oil. Drag that back to the manifold. Should be, what, like slot 5 here. Go. Excellent. So that... oh, I'm out of wood. So this is the new fertilizer output. Then the final step is sinking all of the wood again. So this is actually in the wrong spot, but I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to copy it. Need one right here. That'll go off to the existing wood sink, and then I need to double that. Probably over in this area it'll fit. So this will just come out like so. This one will drop down here. And that one behind it can drop down there. Then I'm getting a little close to the soap here, but I think it'll be okay. That one can drop down there. That one can drop down there. The final ones from there and there. Okay, that'll get at least half of it going for now. Let's do the same thing on this side. So this will come out, plug into the floor bus. So the blueprint I'm using for the wood sink is this one, the Jupiter wood sink. Get one right about there. And then the second one can go right about there. Then I think I actually flipped this. Point that way. And then these will just be sent back to the main bus, where they will be sold in the shop. So this is a little bit of an older blueprint for Jupiter's, but it still works. It does take an extra supply of wood just from these portals here. Need to get some fertilizer for the flax. But the big thing is getting all of this wood sunk. Let's see, how did I do the outputs? So I dropped down to a horizontal and then 90'd back into a vertical, okay. So something a little bit like this. Oh, then this should be the last one here. Get that connected in. So all of the excess wood is getting sunk into Jupiter's here. Those will just end up in the shop. Well, from this angle, looks like everything is moving. It's actually quite mesmerizing to watch. So I'll submit this urgent request for some catalysts. Get this out of the way. Do one last overview of the build. So from this angle, I think I can see everything. This is the paradox crucibles here. There are more than necessary just to make stacking it really easy. That's 10 doing the Oblivion Essence, feeding directly into 10 doing the Vitality Essence. And they're just on some heating pads connected up to a steam pipe here. The next stage is the soap powder. So this is my standard diagonal stacking soap blueprint with a little bit of chamomile tacked on the end there. This step here, this is all of the gloom fungus. Has to come from rotten logs, which means there's a lot of wood being made. But again, that's just going into the Jupiter wood sinks. Then all of those mushrooms go into 8 assemblers, doing the gloom spores, combined with the outputs of these blenders here. And again, all of the fluids are supplied from the upper floor. That makes things so much simpler to build. That is then combined with the chamomile powder into 4 assemblers, making the unstable catalyst. And this is the recipe that changed. So no longer requires sulfur. And then that is combined with the vitality essence from the very first step to make the fertile catalyst. And this is being supplied with essential oil from, again, the upper floor. So I'll leave a blueprint for the wood sink. I'm pretty sure I already have one for the soap. Then I could do a blueprint for this midsection in here, and then a blueprint for the 2 wood processors. I think it's too big to fit together in one big blueprint. I suppose it's not that big. So all of that is what's required for the fertile catalysts. The wood sinks are optional. You could just trash the wood if you want. But yeah, I think I'll do one, forgot to get a blueprint for that, so 1, 2, maybe three blueprints for this. I'll stick all of those into the spreadsheet and make them available in my Discord, in case you want to pick those up. But again, this is my second time trying to record fertile catalysts, because the recipe changed on me halfway through. But that's everything I wanted to cover in this episode. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.